Hi everyone, this is Miss Allen. Yes, I have this on my head because I am supposed to read you a bedtime story. And those of you that know me know I love talking about disgusting things such as farts, burps, and boo-boo. So I felt like tonight we will read Walter the Farting Dog. And I have my two kids standbys here. These are my two kids' favorite toys. This is Eby's bear that he has since he was a baby, and this is Yoshi's dog that he has since he was a baby. And this. All right, here we go. Betty and Billy brought Walter home from the dog pound. Nobody wanted him, said Billy. But we love him, said Betty. Well, he smells awful, said their mother. I think you better give him a bath. Yeah. Mother walked in and said, he still smells awful. And that's when they got their first clue. The telltale bubbles in the water. He's probably just a little nervous, said Mother hopefully. His stomach must be upset. But Walter's stomach wasn't upset. Walter's stomach was just fine. He felt perfectly normal. He just farted a lot. So how many of you have been in a bathtub, right? And you had some telltale bubbles in the bathtub? Stinky. He did it when he bathed. He did it when he played with Betty and Billy. He did it when he walked around the house. So he farted a lot. He did it in the dining room. He did it in the kitchen. And he did it in his sleep. Now that would make me pretty upset. Especially if I had to sleep in the same room with him. I've been really upset. That dog farts morning, noon, and night, said Father. He can't help it, Daddy, said Billy and Betty. They didn't mind Walter's farts. So what if he farts? Billy said to Betty when they were alone in their room with Walter. Betty agreed. Walter agreed too. He sat there looking innocently around, farting. Take him to the vet, said Father. Have you ever loved something so much you didn't care what it smelled like, what it looked like, what it tastes like? Or not taste, but you know what I'm talking about. Farting, said the vet, or rectal flatulence. That's a vocabulary word. Instead of saying farting, we want to say flatulence. As we say in the medical profession, and prescribe a change in diet. So diet means prescribe a change in his food. So maybe the foods Walter ate made him fart too much. So sometimes there's food that make everyone have flatulence a little bit too much. I wonder what your food is. Mine is beans. They gave Walter every kind of dog food. He farted. They tried him on cat food. He farted. They gave him hot dogs, hamburgers, and lettuce and tomato sandwiches. Guess what he did? Farted. They gave him fried chicken. They gave him rabbit food. They made him a vegetarian, meaning that he only ate vegetables. No matter what that dog eats, he turns it into farts, roared Dad. Walter got blamed for everybody else's farts too. If Uncle Irv let one slip, he just went and stood near Walter. And then all he had to say was, Walter! And then everyone would look at poor Walter. How many of you ever been blamed for a fart before? I have too. It's not fun. He has to go back to the pound, said Father. No, Daddy, please, begged Betty and Billy. Don't send Walter away. He goes tomorrow, said Dad. They pleaded. And guess what Walter did? Yep, farted. It was all over. That night, Betty and Billy cried in their beds, and Walter looked at them unhappily. Oh, Walter, said Betty, you've got to stop farting. Because the father is going to send you back to the pound tomorrow, said Billy. And look at Walter. Poor Walter. He just cannot help it. It's a fart coming right out of his booty right there. It's kind of hard to turn his face. Walter knew how serious the situation was. He'd never seen Betty and Billy again. He resolved to hold in his farts forever. When Betty and Billy fell asleep, he walked down to the kitchen to see if there was anything around to eat. He managed to open the cupboard door with his nose and found a 25-pound bag of low-fart dog biscuits the vet had prescribed from him, which had made him fart more. Even though he knew they made him fart more, he couldn't resist. He ate the entire bag. Very tasty, said Walter to himself. Oh my gosh, this reminds me of how people would just love to eat something even though they know it's going to upset their stomach. It's just good. They're going to eat it. It's worth it. And then he went and lay down on the sofa. A gigantic gas bubble began to build inside him. This is going to be trouble, he said to himself nervously. He was afraid what might happen if he let it go. He thought maybe the house would explode. Whoa. So he kept it in. It wasn't easy. In fact, it was torture. But he had resolved never to fart again. His future depended on it. As he lay there with his tail wrapped tightly between his legs, he heard a noise at the window. Oh, poor Walter. He got to hold in that fart. Ugh. Whew, have you ever tried to hold one of those in? It's not cute. He watched it slowly open. A pair of burglars came through. They dropped silently into the kitchen. Watch out for the dog, said one of the burglars. He won't bite, said the other. He's a wimp. Walter might have bitten them, except he was so filled with gas, he couldn't move. They tied a rag around his snout so he couldn't bark. Okay, whispered the first burglar. Let's clear this place out. They took everything they could get their hands on. Walter wanted to stop them, but he was having unbearable gas pains. He rolled on his back and waved his paws in the air. He gnashed his teeth. We've got it all, said a second burglar. Let's go. That's when Walter let it fly. It was the worst fart of his life. It made a tremendous noise and shot him across the room. A hideous cloud filled the air. The burglars clutched their throat, unable to breathe. With tears in their eyes, they raced for the window. They tried to grab their bag with all the valuables in it, but their arms were too weak. Let's get out of here. They jumped out the window and ran up the block, choking and gasping for air. Still blinded by Walter's attack, they stepped into the headlights of an approaching police car. Hold it right there, said a policeman. And why does this dude still have a spider, if you can see it, on his head? Like, oh my God. When father and mother came down in the morning, they found the open window. And they saw the bag with their valuables in it. And Walter was sitting beside it. he still had the rag tied around his snout. You'd have to say he looked heroic. He saved the silverware, cried Mother. He saved the VCR, cried Father. Good dog, Walter. You're our dog, even if you do fart all the time. Some of you may not know what a VCR is, but back in the day before we had DVDs, we had these big old tape things that kind of fit into like a DVD player, about the size of a small book. That's how we watched movies back in the day. And so the family learned to live with Walter, the hero dog. And that's the end of our tale. And look at Walter. He's so happily farting with his family. Oh. I hope you enjoyed this story. Miss Allen will make sure the next time that we have another exciting book to read. Something that's going to make us laugh and make us happy before we go to bed. Okay? Until then, peace and good night.